You're tuned to Planet Vero Radio. I am Cindy Schwartz. We are broadcast on iHeartMedia. We are also podcast on Spreaker. I've got my co-host Jeannie Roller on Skype with me. She is in Indiana. Today we are talking about iatrogenic injury. And that is the real term for what we have been calling medical harm. So if you're familiar with it, there is actually terminology, specific terminology, both legally and medically, that says patients can be harmed. And I'm going to quote the Oxford Dictionary definition of what that actually is, of what iatrogenic injury is. And it says, quote, relating to illness caused by medical examination or treatment. Drugs may cause side effects which can lead to iatrogenic disease. So there you go. All of the times, Jeannie Roller, that you and I have heard that this didn't happen to you, we don't treat patients like that, there is actually terminology that explains what has happened to us and harmed patients, but yet it's ignored.
Right. Well, we talked about last week about medical PTSD, and we're going to continue on for the next couple of sessions talking about it and even probably expanding on it because there is so much to talk about. But today I want to go into an article from the Institute for Healthcare Improvement called Addressing the Long-Term Impact of Patient Harm. It's by Sigal Bell, MD, from Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center. And it is a very good article. There are things that I want to talk about that I want to add to it.
And what's the date? Do you have the date of the article, Jeannie?
Let's see. It's not too old. I had it. Okay, 2019, March 7th of 2019.
Okay, there you go. So fairly recent.
So it is fairly recent. And they have done group studies there and talked to patients who have been harmed because I want to know what are the long-term side effects of being medically harmed. And one thing that they said that one of the people in the study said they asked them what animal they feel like from being harmed, and this one person answered back a sea turtle because they felt like they were underwater in a silent world. And the attendee described profound isolation, feeling invisible and unheard with nobody around to help navigate this new reality. That's how so many of us feel. That's how I feel. Cindy, is that how you felt or still feel?
Well, I still don't feel that way now because you and I have done so much work trying to get to the gist of all of this, trying to heal ourselves. So quickly, we talked, Jeannie, before we went on air, that you and I were both harmed in the medical system, your husband as well, other people that we have interviewed, hundreds and hundreds and thousands of them that we talk with on Twitter and on Misty Roberts' website too, patientmodesty.org, that it's just a phenomenon. And now to put a name to iatrogenic injury and also what you're talking about, they have to realize that this happens. And I want to add in there too, this was a monetary settlement, but there was $380 million given to the victims from Larry Nassar and that sexual abuse. And so we don't always talk about monetary compensation with what we're talking about, but we want it to be recognized and for things to change. It's not about money. So yeah, we are turtles. I mean, I'm gasping for air that this even happened, that I could not and feel that I cannot. I never would go back to the surgeon that I went to in Orlando, Florida, certainly. Because nobody listens, lawyers or doctors or the medical field.
Yeah, well, and same with us. We want to move from central Indiana because 2 hospital systems here are involved. So we don't feel like we have a choice but to move to get away because we can't have medical treatment here.
So the book that you sent to my attention, Jeannie, I'm going to give them a little bit of airtime here, is called Closing Death's Door. And it is written by Michael Sachs and Stephen Landsman, and they're both involved with the legal field, and they are both working with the universities, U.S. universities where they teach and that kind of thing on this subject and others. I can't talk specifically about what exactly they do. I did offer them to be interviewed on this 10-minute segment, our patient partners 10-minute segments, and they respectfully declined, saying that they didn't do the type of interviews any longer that we were asking them about. So, I mean, that's their choice. I mean, I am reading their book, but they are bringing some of this stuff out into the forefront, and I have to applaud that because both the legal community and the medical community know this exists. So let's get it out there. It's not all about malpractice. That's not what we're all seeking. We're trying to change this stuff.
Well, and going on with this, Dr. Bell went on to say that not only patients, but the family and even friends, close friends of the patients can be overwhelmed by the emotional toll that a harmful medical event does. Post-traumatic stress syndrome, guilt, which I feel for not being able to prevent what happened to my husband, for not protecting him, for not getting him out of there, fear of retribution for raising concerns, the fractured trust, or as in our case, the complete lack of trust we have, isolation again. If I hadn't found a group of people, which you are included in, I don't know what we would be doing now. I mean, because most people don't understand what medical harm really is.
I want to add, too, I want to be the devil's advocate, not to interrupt you, Jeannie, is I want to add the other medical people that witness this stuff and feel they can't or won't or don't say something or do something to interact with it because they also feel, I believe, the harm and the shame and all of that, and they just don't know what to do. I mean, not everyone in the medical community is bad. We talk about that over and over again, but how do we separate some of this stuff, and how do we have the conversation to make it an even playing field and just better care across the board for everyone?
Well, and I take the opposite effect of that. Yeah, there probably are some good ones, but the people who witnessed this type of event that happened to my husband and who did nothing, who said nothing, I put them in the same category as the one who was actually committing the harm to him. If they cannot do their job and protect the patient, then they do not belong in healthcare.
Okay, that's fair enough. Okay.
There's also patients suffer from lack of transparency. When something does happen, they are not given the information. They're told, like you were, oh, that didn't happen.
Right, yeah.
Or some other excuse. They withhold information. They leave us struggling to piece together what happened.
That's the worst part. That, honestly, for the PTSD is the worst part, because having suffered it, and again, I interrupted you, is you want to put the pieces together to have a cohesive story so your mind can rest.
Right. And this article says that when you cannot get the information, that leads to additional emotional or psychological harm.
Yep.
So it is just a vicious circle that continues as it goes on, and you don't know really why it happened, what all happened during that time period, especially if you were a surgery patient and it's when it happened. The toll is just tremendous.
It is.
It is something you do not forget. And, as far as we're concerned, the trust is forever broken because we didn't go that time expecting that he would be harmed. So now we have no trust because we don't know who we can trust in the future because, as I said, we didn't think that they would harm him.
Right. We have 45 seconds left. You're exactly right, Jeannie. We're going to talk about this on other segments so the listeners know where we're coming from. We are the harm patients, so we're doing this from our own experience. I mean, we're not technical people. We're not lawyers. We're not doctors, but we know we are consumers. And at the end of the day, that's what this is about, is selling something to someone. As sad as that may sound, because you want to have medicine above that, but at the end of the day, that's really what it is. We are consumers, and you can't keep harming these people. Now we have a term, iatrogenic injury, which is a technical term legal medical people know, so let's continue talking about that on future segments. So stay tuned. You've been listening to Planet Vero Radio.